What happens when the one institution Americans trust to remain above politics suddenly starts looking like just another partisan battlefield? That was the question hanging in the air as Congressman Pat Ryan went head-to-head with the Secretary of Defense in a heated hearing. The exchange wasn't theater. It wasn't a soundbite. It was a raw warning that the line between military duty and political loyalty may be blurring right before our eyes. And once that line is crossed, there's no easy way back. Ryan's questions landed like punches. Have you ever worn a partisan hat in front of the troops? Is it appropriate for leaders to wear campaign merchandise at official military events?
Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for being here. We have all worn the uniform. We've all served in combat. We all love our country. We all revere our troops. And I really want to speak with you both, not as partisans, but as patriots. And I want to talk specifically about the events at Fort Bragg the other day. General Kane, I want to start with you. As a junior officer, were you ever required to make a pledge of political loyalty? Yes or no?
Sir, as you know, we're an apolitical military, so, no.
Thank you. At any time in your 30-plus years of incredibly distinguished service, did you have to make a pledge of partisan or political loyalty?
No, sir.
Thank you. Did you ever serve in any unit or command at any level where service members were required to make a pledge of political loyalty?
No, sir.
Thank you. And I want to commend you. You've been on the record on this, including in your confirmation hearings where you clarified, quote, "I've never worn any political merchandise or said anything to that effect." I appreciate that. That is the standard, and I commend you for saying so and continuing to model that. General Kane, one last question for you. Should soldiers have to pledge political loyalty to participate in an event with our commander-in-chief? Yes or no, please.
Sir, I'm not. First, no. I'm not aware of any time in history that soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines have been asked to do that. I think.
I'm sorry, General. I do want to, just in the interest of time, I want to talk about what happened at Fort Bragg 2 days ago. There was guidance put out, and this has been verified by multiple independent news outlets, saying, quote, these are to the soldiers of the 18th Airborne Corps and the U.S. Army. If soldiers have political views that are in opposition to the current administration, then they need to speak with their leadership and get swapped out. This is swapped out of the event with the president. In addition, in an incredibly disturbing incident, there was a pop-up shop selling MAGA merchandise on post at Fort Bragg. And to summarize this, there was a commander from Bragg who said on the record, quote, "This has been a bad week for the Army. For anyone who cares about us being a neutral institution, this was shameful." If those are the facts, and I know the Army is investigating at least the MAGA pop-up shop, is that appropriate, General Kane?
Sir, I haven't seen any of these reports. I'm not familiar with them, but as I mentioned earlier and in my confirmation hearing, the nation demands a political, nonpartisan military.
I appreciate you saying that and happy to share those reports. Secretary Hegseth, are you familiar with DoD Directive 1344.10? Political activities of the members of the armed forces?
Well, first off, I don't buy into your
yes or no?
insinuation
Are you familiar
that pledges are being done under this administration. That's
I reclaim my
insinuation.
time. Are you familiar with this DoD directive?
There's never one time in my service or in this
Mr.
Defense
Secretary,
Department.
will you please answer
I'm answering your
these
question
questions?
where politics has been considered for service members.
Are you familiar with this directive? Yes or no?
Which directive?
DoD Directive 1344.10. I'm happy to provide you a copy. There's even a one-page red and green cheat sheet. Are you familiar with it? This is the same directive from when we were all in uniform.
I'm sure I am.
Has anything changed in that directive under your guidance, given what happened 2 days ago at Fort Bragg? Is there a new policy change that we're not aware of?
Again, I totally reject your insinuation.
Is there a policy change to DoD Directive 1344.10?
I know what you're attempting to insinuate, but there's been
I'll
no
take that as a
policy
no.
change and there is no policy.
Mr. Secretary, have you ever worn a MAGA hat in front of the troops?
I own plenty of MAGA hats, but I don't.
Have you ever worn one in front of the troops at an official event? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to wear political merchandise, including a MAGA hat, at official events, including West Point commencement?
The Commander-in-Chief
Yes or no?
can wear whatever hat he wants, to include the phrase, "Make America Great Again," because I would like to
you
make
think
America
that's-
great again as well.
So you think that's appropriate?
The Commander-in-Chief has the right, in front of his troops, to wear whatever he'd like.
Okay, I strongly disagree with you. And I urge you both, especially you, General Kane, as we see an increasingly political rhetoric, including from the Secretary, to please, for the good of our troops, this is an incredibly difficult moment, and we need leaders like you to continue to echo the apolitical nature. I have 12 seconds. Mr. Secretary, I don't say this lightly. I have to say this on the record. I think your tenure as Secretary of Defense has been shameful and weak, and you should resign. I yield back.
Gentlemen.
And, most importantly, should soldiers ever be pressured to pledge political loyalty? The Secretary dodged, stumbled, and insisted nothing had changed. But Ryan kept pressing, making clear that this wasn't about party labels. It was about the survival of a neutral, apolitical force that every democracy depends on. And then came the story that stunned the room. At Fort Bragg, one of America's most storied military installations, soldiers were reportedly told that if their personal views clashed with the current administration, they should get swapped out of an event with the Commander-in-Chief. Imagine that. You train, you serve, you sacrifice, only to be told your place in the lineup depends on your politics. That same week, a pop-up shop appeared on posts selling political merchandise. For troops sworn to defend the Constitution, not a campaign, it was a shocking sight. One commander put it bluntly, "This has been a bad week for the Army." That was no exaggeration. A military unit isn't just about weapons and training. It's about trust. Trust that the orders you're following are lawful, not partisan. Trust that your fellow service members are being judged on their skill, not their loyalty to a politician. Trust that leadership isn't quietly nudging the ranks into one political corner. Erode that trust, and you erode readiness. You plant doubt in the very heart of the force. And when doubt festers, missions fail, lives are put at risk, and the integrity of the entire institution starts to collapse. Ryan knew this. That's why he raised the Defense Department's own rules, Directive 1344.10. This directive has been in place for decades. It forbids the military from being used as a political prop. It bans troops from participating in partisan events while in uniform. It draws a bright red line to protect the firewall between national defense and political campaigns. And Ryan's question was simple. Has anything changed under this leadership? The Secretary bristled, rejected the insinuation, but never clearly explained why the rules didn't seem to line up with reality at Fort Bragg. History makes it clear why these guardrails exist. Democracies fall when armies become partisan tools. Once soldiers start being asked to show allegiance to a leader rather than the Constitution, the balance tips. Decisions about defense shift from strategy and security to showmanship and slogans. It's happened before in other countries. It can happen here. And if you think that sounds extreme, ask yourself, what message does it send when troops are told to step aside because of their personal views? What message does it send when partisan merchandise is sold on base without immediate correction? The truth is, a hat or a pop-up shop isn't the issue. The issue is the pattern. When small breaches of neutrality are tolerated, they become the new normal. When soldiers see their commanders overlooking partisan displays, they get the message. Loyalty is being measured in politics, not performance. And when performance takes a back seat to political signals, unity shatters. That's when the chain of command starts bending away from the mission and toward whoever shouts the loudest. Orion's appeal was direct, and it carried the weight of experience. As a combat veteran, he wasn't just speaking as a politician. He was speaking as someone who's worn the uniform, led soldiers, and lived the culture of an apolitical military. His words cut through the noise. Service members swear an oath to the Constitution, not to a party or a person. That oath is sacred. It's the foundation of civilian control of the military. Without it, the United States isn't just weaker. It's unstable. Oversight matters because it's one of the last checks on creeping politicization. That's why hearings like this one are so important. They aren't just shouting matches or cable news clips. They're moments where Congress forces answers on the record, where inspectors general are empowered to dig into reports, where evidence can be brought to light and practices corrected before they calcify into policy. If the Department of Defense is tipping toward partisan enforcement, it isn't just a scandal. It's a constitutional crisis. But accountability only works if leaders are willing to take responsibility. And that's what made Ryan's closing statement so damning. He didn't just say the secretary had been weak. He said the tenure itself had been shameful. Because refusing to enforce neutrality, refusing to admit mistakes, refusing to restore confidence, those aren't minor lapses. They're failures of leadership at the highest level. And the price of those failures isn't just political embarrassment. It's the erosion of trust in the most powerful military on earth. This goes beyond one official or one base. It's about the entire institution and the democratic system it protects. Democratic norms aren't self-sustaining. They survive only when people defend them. That's what makes veterans like Ryan so compelling. They're not speaking as partisans. They're speaking as guardians of the institution they served. Their warning isn't about who wins or loses an election. It's about whether future generations inherit a military that protects all Americans equally, or one that pressures its ranks to choose sides. And here's the truth most people don't want to face. Democracies don't crumble overnight. They erode little by little, through small acts that once seemed unthinkable but slowly become accepted. A shop on base, a hat at a ceremony, a quiet instruction to swap out troops with dissenting views. Each one chips away at the wall that's supposed to separate the military from politics. And when that wall finally falls, rebuilding it is nearly impossible. So the question isn't whether this was a bad week for the Army. The question is whether Americans are paying attention, whether citizens will demand transparency, oversight, and enforcement of the rules that keep the armed forces apolitical. Because at the end of the day, the military belongs to the people. It protects the Constitution. And the Constitution belongs to everyone, not to one side. This is why staying engaged matters. Watch these hearings. Read the reports. Hold your representatives accountable. And above all, never forget that neutrality in the military isn't optional. It's the safeguard of democracy itself. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Do you think what happened at Fort Bragg was a warning sign, or just an isolated mistake? Let me know in the comments below. And if you believe these conversations are important, if you believe democracy is worth defending, then hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with others. Because the more people understand what's at stake, the harder it becomes for anyone to quietly erode the guardrails that protect us all.